Welcome to your first online lecture for the College Success class. I am your instructor, Ashley Odell, and today we're mostly going to be going over the purpose of the class, the structure of the class, and what to expect from this fully online course. So the whole purpose behind this class is to help you. This is unlike a math class or a science class. It is purely for your benefit, not just to learn a subject area. We're really going to be focusing on things that will help you succeed not only in college, but in your career and in your life beyond that. So one of the reasons this class exists is because students do struggle with adjusting to college. It's not something that you just know how to do automatically. It's something that you have to learn how to do. Another reason that this class exists is that many students struggle with things like feeling overwhelmed, feeling exhausted, and actually experiencing depression and anxiety. Students experience depression and especially anxiety at much higher levels than the general population, and hopefully by providing you some tools and other resources to be as successful as you can in a college experience will help mitigate that, as well as these percentages that you're seeing: 86% of students feeling overwhelmed and 81% of students feeling exhausted. And you're definitely going to have times where you still feel tired, definitely going to have times where you still feel overwhelmed, but hopefully you'll have the tools to manage most of your college experience and push beyond those and have the resilience to manage those feelings and those hurdles that you're going to come across. So we're going to go over the structure of the class now. And the first thing you need to know about being successful as a college student is read the syllabus. Everything you need to know about assignments, due dates, what we're going to cover in class, etc., is going to be posted in the syllabus. You cannot be successful as a college student if you do not read it thoroughly and check it often. One of the things that professors really, really hate is when students ask questions that are right there in the syllabus. The answer is probably going to be, did you check your syllabus? No? Well, then do it. So make sure that that's the first thing you do in this class. We're going to go over the syllabus briefly, but you need to spend some time really reviewing it and getting familiar with it. We'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about time management, but you will want to look at due dates and assignments and put those into your calendar or your schedule, whatever you use to manage your time. So if you do have a question, especially in this online class when I'm not actually here physically, please review the syllabus as well as Canvas before you send an email or before you ask in a discussion. It's super important, and in managing several students, it's difficult for me to answer a bunch of questions that are already in the syllabus, which is why I designed the syllabus in the first place. So just to hit that home, I don't always ignore your emails, but when I do, it's because the answer's in the syllabus. I love this shirt. I really want to buy it. Oh, come on, read the syllabus. And finally, what if I told you the information you seek is in the syllabus? So you're going to see that I have a lot of memes in my classes. I think that they make things light, but also, as in this case, they really support my point. So we're going to talk about expectations. So with an online class, as I mentioned, I'm not here physically. I am only available digitally. I will try and be available as often as possible. I will check frequently on Canvas, and I'll check my email. But it's really important that in an online class, you're self-driven, which means that you are checking for what's due, you are reading the material, you are watching the videos all on time, and kind of keeping on top of yourself so that you make sure that you are staying in line with the needs of the course. College success, which is what this class is all about, is operating like a college student. You need to understand that the support that you got in a high school setting is not really what you can expect in a college setting. We are expecting you to be an adult, act like an adult, to take control of your learning. And we'll talk a lot more about that because this is part of what this class is about, is helping you understand the differences between your high school experience and the college experience. But just from the get-go, I need you to know that college is a little bit different. There's a lot less hand-holding and a lot more expectations. for you to do work outside of the classroom setting, or in this case, the video lecture setting, so that you can really learn how to manage the way you work. And this is the way the workplace is as well, where you really do have to be self-driven and kind of take control of your schedule and things like that. So it's helping you not only with your own responsibilities, but it's helping you with getting adjusted to the way the world is going to be. So this may be the first online course that many of you are taking. For my class, you're going to be following the modules in Canvas. So Canvas is the learning software that we're using, and if you go on the left-hand menu, you'll see modules as one of the top things there. And if you follow the modules, it will walk you through the class essentially. Under the modules, I will include video lectures like this one, as well as handouts and links that are related to the lecture. Unfortunately, because our lectures are all on YouTube, any links that I include in the actual PowerPoint are unavailable for you to click on. So I include those in Canvas right under the lecture. I will indicate whether it's mandatory that you click on this link and explore it, or if it's recommended, or if it's optional. Some things are just put there as resources for you to help you with your success, but it's not totally crucial to you understanding the lecture, whereas some of the videos and things that are included as part of the lecture you absolutely have to watch. So you can use Canvas and look at the modules to determine what to click on. Additionally, there are handouts that I'm going to ask you to use while you watch the video lecture. At the beginning of the video lecture, I will have indicators saying please have this handout, but it's also indicated very clearly on the Canvas module for that day which handouts you're going to need. So you can click on them and print them out and have them available for the lecture. I may also have some activities under the modules. So for example, one week we do a discussion instead of a traditional video lecture. It's more hands-on. I may have other things during the lecture that I ask you to do. Like today, I'm going to ask you to brainstorm a little bit, so you can just pause the video and do that activity. I may have other things included under the Canvas modules. So really, connect with the modules for you to be able to create this classroom experience at home. Also, you are going to have, of course, a variety of assignments in this class. The assignments are made up of a variety of things. We have journals, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. Discussions, where you're actually interacting with other students and you have to respond to other students. Core assignments, and that's sort of what I call this variety of assignments that relate to the content. And there's lots of different ones, like you'll do a budget, and you'll do a few worksheets, so you'll see those on the syllabus. There are also textbook quizzes, so I want to make sure that you're doing your reading, and so I'm actually going to be quizzing you on the textbook, and this will include questions that may also be on the final or the midterm exam. So it's a good thing for you to, of course, do them and to really study for them and make notes of it. We will have a midterm and a final exam in this class, and they are done digitally. There's more information about them in the modules. I'll have things written up for you to read about how to prepare and what to expect, but they will be online. They will be open note, open book, but you really are going to have to study, because I don't give you enough time to look everything up while you're taking the exam. Finally, the big project for this class is a group project. I realize that you can't get together in person, so this is going to be something where you're going to be working with people digitally together to create one product to submit. There, of course, is a lot more information about this on Canvas. I have instructions on how to do it, a guide to the group project. So as we get closer to that, you'll learn more. But we will have some information on how to do research for the project. You're actually going to do sort of a course that's a library orientation. So keep an eye out for those things, because that's a big part of your grade. So I'm going to take a minute to go over the syllabus with you, and you're going to have to bear with me because I'll probably be looking down a bit while I review the syllabus with you. So get your syllabus out. You may want to pause the video if you don't already have your syllabus in front of you. Go ahead and print it out or have it up in another window so that you can review it along with me. So I'll just pause for a second while you do that. All right, so I'm assuming that you have your syllabus in front of you. The first thing you're going to do is take a look at the top of the syllabus. And this is going to tell you exactly what the dates are, how many units this class is, what the term is, how long, the dates exactly of when we'll be in class, and it will have contact information for me. So I am available via email, and there's also the Canvas inbox, which is actually an even better way to get a hold of me. I do not include my phone number because I have had issues with that in the past. It's my personal number. I'm what is called an adjunct or a part-time professor, meaning I do not have my own office. So you'll want to get a hold of me via email. I will typically get back to you within 48 hours. I will try and get back to you sooner than that, but there's no guarantee. This is, a weekday job for me. So if you email me on the weekends, don't expect immediate response. If it's over a holiday, don't expect immediate response because I take weekends off just like other people. So I'll let you go ahead on your own, read the description of the course as well as the student learning outcomes. But I will make note of the advisory. So the advisory is basically telling you that to be successful in this class, it's recommended that you either have completed or you concurrently enrolled in these English or English as a second language classes. And this is because there is some writing involved in the class. So if you are not concurrently enrolled in this or you have not completed this, that's usually okay as long as you feel like as you look through the assignments you can successfully complete them, that you can write at a college level. You just have to be able to kind of keep up with the expectations of the course. There are also required materials for this class. So there's a textbook, Becoming a Master Student by Dave Ellis, and it is the 16th edition that you're going to need to get. I've included the ISBN 10 number there. You can look that up. It's available, through either Advanced Ed or on your at the bookstore, or you can get it on Amazon or rent it. And the catalog is another required material. And this is actually available online, so you can go ahead and access it there. You don't actually have to get the hard copy catalog. So turning the page of the syllabus, turning the page, this is going to give you an idea of what the class is worth. So my class is worth 500 points, and you're going to see how it's broken down between the journals, core assignments, discussions, the quizzes, and then the project as well as the 2 exams. You'll see that the group project is worth quite a lot. For a single assignment, it's 50 points, even more than the final, and much more than the midterm. So this is something that's really important to me because I want you guys to work together. So, it's just something to keep in mind in terms of how you prioritize your work. Class participation is required. This means you need to actually be involved in the discussions, do the activities that I suggest in lecture, and of course do all your assignments. If I see that you haven't logged in to the system, that you're not involved in the course, I can drop you. That doesn't mean I will drop you if you're not involved. It's hard for me to track every single student's activities in Canvas, but if I do notice that you haven't even logged in at all, it's a possibility at my discretion that I drop you. Do not rely on me to drop you from the class, however. If you decide you want to drop it, it is your responsibility to do so because I may or may not drop you. And if you are in the class and not involved, you are at the potential of getting an F in the class. So it's important that you use your resources in order to go ahead and drop if you need it. If you have some kind of circumstance that makes it so you can't be involved in the class, you need to let me know. If it's a serious illness or jury duty or something like that, I'm going to need some kind of documentation. So if you need to take a break from the class for a little while because something's going on with you, if you want to be kept in the class or, accommodations be made, you need to reach out to me. Assignments. So assignments in this class, of course, are all done online. So they're all submitted on Canvas. They're always due at 10 a.m. 1 week after the date they are assigned. So if you look at the schedule, you'll see the date that they are assigned. It's 1 week later it's due. There are some exceptions. So if you look again at the schedule, you'll see some assignments in the right-hand column where it'll say due and then a date there. And so that means it's due later than the original 1 week. And this is because it's a larger project, so I give you more time for it. So do take note of that. It might make it a little bit easier if you look at that second to last page of the syllabus. I have a guide to when the due dates are for everything. So that's just a nice kind of quick reference for you. If you submit late, it is across the board 30% reduction. So if you turn it in, an hour late, or if you turn it in a week late, it's going to be a 30% reduction. So in the points. The great thing about this is that you can turn things in up until the day of the final and get partial credit for it, because certainly that's better than a 0. But you want to make sure that you are trying to turn things in on time, because obviously that's going to create a deduction in points if you're always late. Quizzes and exams are the exception to this. I will not accept late quizzes, and that includes the textbook quizzes, or a late final exam or midterm exam. The midterm and final exam you only have 24 hours to complete anyway, but beyond that I will not accept it unless there's some very specific circumstances. And if you look at the very last page of the syllabus, it will tell you what my missed exam policy is, so you can see what those circumstances are. But for the vast majority of the time, you're going to get a 0 if you don't do the exam on time, or if you don't do the quizzes on time. If you do anticipate having to be absent, obviously we're not physically together, but not being around to complete work, because you're going to go on a trip or something like that, I expect you to get your homework and your work in ahead of time. If there's some kind of arrangements or questions that you have, please let me know and I'll try and help you out. So I have some registration dates listed here. I'm just going to let you take some time to read those, but these are important dates for you. If you want to drop the class and get a refund, you have to do it by a certain date. If you want to drop the class for a W notation, which means withdraw, it'll still show up on your transcript, but you won't be in the class and you won't get an F in the class. And unfortunately, you won't get your money back, but there's a certain date for that. So please review those on your own. If there's any disrespectful or disruptive behavior, I can ask you to leave the class completely, or you may get a 0 for that lesson. There's a variety of things that can happen. It may get to the point where I have to report it. So please be respectful of each other. I know this is in a digital environment. You probably don't have that many opportunities to be disruptive, but if there are comments that are inappropriate in the discussions or something like that, I'm going to have to look into some kind of consequence for that. Academic accommodations. So through American River College, there is a program called Disabled Students Programs and Services, or DSPS for short. And if you have a disability that's been documented by a doctor, you can go there and connect with them, and they can make accommodations for you. Things like more test time, potentially, you always get a seat at the front of the class, or permission to record lectures, things like that. So this can be for learning disabilities or physical disabilities, or this can also be for things like anxiety and depression, but you have to have documentation from a doctor. You can contact DSPS and they can really help you with this. I have to get some kind of paperwork before I can make accommodations for you. So you can't come directly to me. I have to get paperwork from you via DSPS. All right, so next page, you'll take a look at the schedule and assignments. So I have dates on here. This is an online class, so you can kind of do things at your own pace, obviously while adhering to due dates. But I've made a suggestion for a timeline of when you might watch the lectures and complete the activities, so that you can add that into your schedule. That might be helpful for you. It might not work for your schedule, so maybe Tuesdays don't work for you, for example, and I might have Tuesday as the date on there, so you can adjust it. But the due dates are set in stone, so you are going to want to make sure that all assignments are in by those due dates. But hopefully this creates a structure for you that you can work by. I divided the weeks into 1A and 1B and 2A and 2B, so these are 2 days within the single week, and that's sort of the suggested timeline by which you complete the lectures and the materials that are related to it, including the reading. So you'll see I have dates, and then the topic that is going to be covered in that module for that day, and then that'll include, the lecture and activities. Then I have the assigned reading, which is also due 1 week later. So for week, let's say 1B, or the second class, essentially, I have the introduction for the master student book, and that would be due 1 week later, based on the dates that I have on the following Thursday. So you can give yourself a week to do the reading. And then on the right-hand side, this is the column that'll indicate what assignments are assigned for that week. And you assume that it's due 1 week later unless indicated otherwise in bold. And there are also some suggestions for things like reading the group project instructions. So 5A, this is when you should start thinking about doing your group project. Or, for 6B, this is, I have information on how to review for the midterm. So this is when you should read that. So sometimes there are things in addition to the video lecture handouts and links that you would want to go ahead and take a look at. And that's the timeline that you should follow. So if you turn the page, you're going to see more. You're going to notice some blue and green text there, and this is indicating discussions and textbook quizzes. I just do those to kind of highlight that they're different than the journals and core assignments. And so, that's part of your grade, certainly. And so you'll take a look at those and kind of get used to those. And textbook quizzes are kind of later in the semester, but you will need to do all of the reading, certainly. All right, if you look at the next page, you're going to see the assignment points and due dates checklist. So this is the at-a-glance resource that I mentioned, so that you can look at when the assignments are due and look at how much they're worth. And it's got a little column for you to do check marks if you like that. So it helps you plan ahead and think of when things are due in a quick way without looking at the full schedule, although you want to be familiar with the full schedule. And then finally, as I mentioned, my missed exam policy. So a couple of things to note. The textbook quizzes are pretty short, but you will need to have done the reading. It's very difficult to get them finished in the timeline that's allotted without having the reading done already. It would be very difficult to look those things up while you have the clock ticking on these quizzes. The same goes for the midterm and the final. So you want to make sure that you've studied ahead of time. And again, as I said, I have a resource and overview of how to prepare for these exams. With the videos, the YouTube video lectures, you, of course, can stop it or fast forward it or rewind it with a little bar at the bottom at any time. If you're uncomfortable with YouTube and have some questions about it, please let me know. You can always email me or ask in the question and answer discussion in Canvas. If you have questions about Canvas, please ask me. I'm going to go over it a little bit, but if it's still not clear to you, I'm happy to provide some service. However, I am not an IT person, and I do not know how to fix technical issues in Canvas, and there's actually resources for that. If you go under the modules, and the second set of modules is just resources, there's some links to IT help, and you're going to want to contact them if something's not uploading properly or it's some other technical glitch. There's nothing really I can do about those generally. If there's an issue with an assignment or the way it's written or the due date or something like that, that's when you're going to want to notify me. So quick Canvas overview. All of you are already in Canvas if you're accessing this video, so you know how to get in. But Canvas is pretty straightforward. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the main navigation where you're going to have the syllabus and assignments and modules, as well as quizzes, and you'll see people, which allows you to see who's in the class and connect with those people. You'll also see a little bit further to the left, inbox, and this is how you can email me and you can email other people in the class, and this will be useful for you when you're doing your group project. You're mostly going to be operating in the modules and the assignments tab. So the assignments just list things in a row, so you'll just see all the assignments in a row, whereas the modules have each assignment listed under that week when it's assigned, so you can access it in both places. I really recommend going piece by piece through the modules, because that will really adhere to a classroom flow and a class structure, and everything's designed to be gone through that way. So that's really how you're going to want to do it. There's even a way to kind of click through at the bottom with an arrow. You don't have to navigate back to the list. It'll just bring you to the next thing. So that's how I would suggest using it. You can access a lot of other resources as well through what's called your single sign-on, and this has access to Canvas, but also your Los Rios Gmail. Make sure you check your Gmail. This is where all correspondence are going to come from the college, and they expect you to check it. So be on top of that frequently. There's also things that you can use like Google Drive, where you're going to have Google Docs, and you can save documents, and you can collaborate. Again, might be very useful for your group project. And there's some links to other things like the library and scholarships. So it's a really great place to know this single sign-on. So I'd like you to take some time to tour Canvas and get used to it. Look at where your grades are. Look at the assignments tab. Look at all of these things and get really used to it. There is on the left-hand side, you'll see Canvas Help. That's going to be important for you. Again, if you have those technical errors, that's what I was mentioning earlier. There's also that's the general Canvas helpline, but there's also American River College specific technical folks that can help you, and that will be the link to ARC Canvas Help. There's also a nice link to the student support services on campus, so it gives you some information about how to access things to make you more successful as a college student. We're going to talk about some of those resources, but this is a good place to start. So I mentioned that everything's due 1 week later unless specifically noted, but I do want to just make a note that you may notice that some weeks you have several assignments, and then other weeks you don't have as many. You might have one, or you might just say work on your group project. And this is by design. I try and make it so you are actually scheduling things in a way where it gives you time to work on your group project or study for an exam. So hopefully the flow works for you. But do keep on top of your assignments so that they don't all clutter up and get to the point where you just can't manage it all. So your first activity for the class, I want you all to get to know each other. So I know we won't be able to really see each other's faces, but we can connect online, and many of you are probably used to connecting with people online through things like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So I want to create some kind of community in this class as much as we possibly can with the format that we have. So what I'd like you all to do is go ahead and pause the video, and you're going to go into Canvas, and there is on the right, the left hand menu, it says discussions. Go ahead and click on that, and you're going to see a discussion titled Student Lounge. And the Student Lounge is a place for you guys to interact, to answer each other's questions, to connect, to talk about the class, obviously in a very appropriate and professional way. But what I'd like you to do is go ahead and put a post in there with your name, what you are most excited about for your college experience, taking a college class, and many of you, this might be your first college class, and one interesting thing about yourself. And that can really be anything, a hobby or, movies that you like. I had a student who said, I can, put my tongue into a clover shape. It can be really anything you want. I don't care. Just something that you'd like to share with your peers. So go ahead and take a moment to do that, and, review what your other peers say so you get a sense of who's in the class. So since we're going to be spending 16 weeks together, and as I said, I wanted you guys to get to know each other, I think it's important for you to know who this person who's talking to you on the video is for these 4 months of your life. So my name is Ashley Odell. I am a business owner and speaker. I actually own or began a business focusing on happiness and helping both employees and students overcome some of the environmental and cultural contributors to things like anxiety and unhappiness. So mostly doing workshops and speaking engagements, and I'm considering beginning a podcast, which if you're interested, I do have my website on the introduction to your instructor on Canvas. I was a career counselor at UC Davis for about 6 years, so I worked with students with helping them make decisions about career, helping them with their resume and interviewing. And so the career focus is something that's very close to my heart and something I'm very interested in. And I think it's so crucial to the student experience. So I integrate it into my classes. I see myself primarily, though, as a teacher. So my business and my work as a career counselor, I saw myself as teaching other people how to be successful, how to make choices about their career that were, related to their values. And I felt like I was instructing them. And I really feel like being a teacher is a chance to be very empowering, to allow students to understand what resources they have inside of them in order to be successful. So this is one of my absolute favorite things to do. So you guys are seeing me in my element. I love being having the honor of teaching you about how to be a successful college student. So thank you for having me, first of all. I also put that I'm a house builder. My husband and I actually built our own home not that long ago, and we live way out in the foothills near Placerville. So it's, I have no commute with this online class, certainly, but, it's a bit of a commute to American River College, but worth it because I love teaching. And, we did the framing, we did all the finished work, we built the deck, we paid people to do things like foundation because you can't screw that up. That would be a real problem. But we really did most of it ourselves. And I think I like to share that because it's something that I had no idea how to do, and we learned how to do it and executed it successfully. And some of it was really hard, but I was able to be resilient and open to learning. And it's something that I'd like to teach you guys: resilience, openness to new experiences, and really being okay when you make a mistake. So I think that, doing these new things can allow you to do that. I also see myself as a happiness facilitator. So, I'll say this again in our lectures, but when I ask people, well, why are you going to college? Usually they say, well, it's to get a good job. And I say, well, why do you want to get a good job? And sometimes there's a few things in between, but ultimately it comes down to people want to be happy. So I see myself as allowing people to understand what makes them happy, and giving them the tools to be able to be successful in something that they're interested in. We spend a lot of time in this class getting to know ourselves and exploring values and what it is to have a meaningful and happy life. And I think that that's crucial to the college experience. And that's really what I want to do, is help you guys have happy, valuable, meaningful lives. Finally, I'm a meme lover. So as I said earlier, you're going to see a lot of memes in my PowerPoints. I think they're fun, first of all, and I think they're entertaining. And when you get a little tired listening to a lecture, you can always look at a funny meme or a GIF or a GIF, however you're supposed to pronounce that. I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows. But I try and integrate those and make it kind of fun. So I'm going to give you a little overview of how I got where I am today. And the reason I'm doing this is not just because I want to talk about myself. It's because I want you to know that you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do with your life right now. And people are going to put pressure on you to figure out what to do with your life. But you're very young, and you're figuring out, or many of you are very young, and you're figuring out who you are right now. And you need to be open to experiences. You need to be open to opportunities, and you can't be passive. You have to take opportunities as they come. And there's this theory of career counseling called planned happenstance. And the idea behind planned happenstance is that you cannot predict what's going to come. You do not have a crystal ball. So you don't know what kind of careers you would like. You have no clue. And you also don't even know all the careers that are out there. But with planned happenstance, the idea is that you're open to experiences. So you know yourself really well. So that's really important, is to create a foundation of self-knowledge. And then when opportunities arise, you take a look at those based on what you know about yourself and say, yes, this might be a good opportunity for me based on my interests and values, or this really doesn't align with who I am. And you take these opportunities that do align with who you are, and they lead you to things that you probably never could have thought of. So you may, run into somebody in a class that you're taking whose dad works in marketing. You know that you really like being creative and working with people. So you think, well, that might be kind of cool. And you ask for the opportunity to speak to their dad. And that might open up an opportunity for you to do an internship. And you're doing this internship at a marketing department. And then there's somebody working in human resources where they're, providing support to the employees. And you didn't even know that that was a career. And so you talk to them about it. And that opens up a whole another career path that you're considering. So that's just a very short version. But many people find their careers and figure out where they are based on this sort of planned happenstance thing. They had no idea they would end up where they are when they began college, or even when they ended college. So I tell my story because it's a really good example of this idea of planned happenstance, not knowing exactly what you're going to do, but figuring out as you go along. The other thing I like to include into my story is that ideally you would not make some of the mistakes that I made. So everything turned out well, and it is a good example of planned happenstance, but I could have been more proactive in a lot of ways to explore myself, who I am, some of the careers that are out there. And I didn't go to my career center any more than one single time. I didn't do a lot of internships. So there were some opportunities that I lost, and I could have kind of figured things out earlier. So it's a little bit of, hey, everything's going to be okay, even if you don't know, but it's also make sure you take advantage of opportunities that are put before you, because it might not take you as long as Professor Odell to get to where she is, right? So I began my undergraduate years at Berkeley. So I went to UC Berkeley. I went in undeclared, which means I go in without a major. So I didn't know what my major was going to be. And while I was there, I obviously had to eventually declare a major, and I chose my major because I didn't want to take statistics, and it did not require statistics. So it was a really dumb reason to choose the major. I mean, it also sounded interesting to me. I wouldn't have chosen, one of the sciences or something. It was mass communications, which is essentially media studies. So it's the study of how media impacts other people, and our behaviors and our thoughts and things like that. It worked out really well, though, because I loved the major. I was super interested in it. I did pretty well. But unfortunately, the UC, and probably especially Berkeley, tends to not provide a lot of hands-on training in career-related areas. So my major was very theoretical. It was an examination of theory behind the media. And so I didn't really know much about, how to write an article for a newspaper, or how to operate a TV camera, or anything like that. And it was really where I made a big mistake, is I didn't do a lot of internships. I did one internship with Live Nation, which is a concert company, and I had an on-campus work-study job. I'm glad I did those because it provided me with enough experience that I could get a job after I graduated, but I didn't have experience to get into some of these areas that were actually of interest to me, so I couldn't go and work for a newspaper because I didn't have any experience. So that's my one lesson, my first lesson for you guys, is make sure you do internships and that you explore these career areas and get the experience in them, even if your education is not providing that for you. So once I graduated, I kind of just applied for anything that had media sort of related to it. So I applied for this position called Media Relations Assistant. And yeah, I had the word media in it, but all I did all day was sit in a cubicle and sell media clips to public relations companies. So basically we had these big media recorders, and we would just record news and things like that. And then you would have, the public relations company for, let's say, McDonald's call us and say, hey, there was a clip about McDonald's on the news. Can we get that? So I would just type it up, put the order in, and sell it to them. So not exactly right with me, because I'm pretty outgoing. I'm a people person, and I was alone all day, emailing back and forth. So I left that job, and I got a position as a wedding planner on this company that did weddings on yachts, which sounds pretty glamorous, but actually it was not. It was a family-owned company, and it was pretty small, and I don't like working with brides. They are very difficult. They are probably the most high-intensity customers you'll ever have, so that didn't really work out for me. So I decided that, that wasn't going to be a long-term position for me. And so, my mom is a teacher, and she said, well, why don't you do some substitute teaching? And so I signed up to be a substitute teacher, and I actually kind of liked it. I mean, there were certainly some days that weren't so great, because not everybody's the nicest to subs, but I really like working with young people. I really like being in an educational setting. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The problem, though, with being a substitute teacher is summers. There's no work in the summer. So I got to the point where, okay, I need a job. And my background all through high school and most of college, I had been working as first a lifeguard and then a senior lifeguard, so kind of managing lifeguards. And I ran into my old swim coach, and he said, oh, hey, we actually need somebody for a position called facility pool manager, which is managing the lifeguards, managing aquatic programs, and he interviewed me for it, and I got the position. And so that's another little lesson, is that a lot of people get their jobs not from applying online, but from who they know and by networking and connecting with people. So I was able to get this job because I knew the person who was in charge, and it was, I'd reached out to him and connected. It was less of a run-in, more of an outreach, and it ended up working out. So as I worked there for about a year. I found that I really liked the day-to-day, but in terms of the growth in aquatics, you start working less with the lifeguards and more with, the city, and planning and meetings and things like that is more like being in a business type role or administrative role, which wasn't really what I wanted. I liked working with the lifeguards because most of them are, college age or high school age, and it was really fun to train them. And so if I started looking at those things, I said, well, maybe this isn't the path for me, but I like working with young people, which I learned both from subbing and from this position. I like training and education. So in thinking about that and actually kind of discussing it with my mom, who, as I mentioned, is a teacher, she said, well, have you thought about school counseling? Because, my favorite thing to do as a lifeguard, and this is what I shared with her, is provide advice to these other, well, I was manager to these lifeguards. I didn't really like so much being a boss. I really liked being more of an advisor. So, I did a lot of research on the field, getting in to be a school counselor, and it just sounded really good. So, my mom hooked me up with one of the school counselors at her school, and I did what's called a job shadow, and this is something I would encourage you guys to do if there's a career that you're considering. And I basically followed her around all day on her job. So I was able to really see what the job looked like, not just read about it, and it looked great. She was at a middle school, and I thought, wow, I think I want to be a middle school counselor. And so I applied to San Jose State, and I only applied to San Jose State because they were the only ones still taking applications, because I made this decision a little bit past the application deadline, and I got in. And so I was in my master's program for educational counseling. You need a master's to be a school counselor. And while you're there, you're required to do some internships. And, I thought I wanted to be a middle school counselor, but I did my internship with middle schoolers, and they are a little crazy because of the hormones and everything. And I just didn't feel the connection with them. So that kind of helped me, say, there's got to be something else that's going to work better. And we actually had somebody come into one of our classes and talk about what it's like to be a community college counselor. And I thought it just sounded great. So I was brave, right? And this is sort of this planned happenstance thing. I took advantage of an opportunity. I went up to him and I said, hey, this sounds really great. I'm wondering if, there might be internship opportunities at your college. And I got his card and reached out to him, and I ended up getting an interview for an internship opportunity. I got the opportunity, and I started working as an intern doing counseling at Las Positas College. While there, I did really like working with the college students. It was really fun. But I had this opportunity where the dean needed somebody to work in a one-stop career center. They were what's called fiduciary partners, meaning financial partners with the college, and they needed somebody to do some career counseling for some hours, and they were going to pay. So I was like, yes, absolutely, I'll take it. Even though I didn't know that much about career counseling, I'd taken some classes in it from my master's program and done some practice in it, but I haven't done that much of it, just pure career counseling. Well, I fell in love with it. I love the idea of just expanding people's opportunities and really looking at existentially what do they want to do with their lives. I like doing resume reviews and workshops, and it was something that I had never, ever thought about when I entered my master's program, let alone when I graduated from UC Berkeley as an undergraduate. So it gives you this sense of, oh my gosh, you can end up somewhere that you didn't even know really was a job or really was an option, because of all these circumstances that happen. So after I graduated, the one-stop job was part-time, so I started looking for a full-time job. And my husband, he's a veteran, so he transferred to UC Davis about the time I graduated. And so I started looking in the Sacramento region, and I ended up getting a job at the Internship and Career Center at UC Davis. And I was there for about 6 years. And even while I was in that job, I moved from student population to student population. I started working with health and biological science students. Then I ended up with agriculture and environmental science students, and then I worked with liberal arts and business students. So I was just open. People, left jobs, and I asked if I might take that opportunity. And so I just, again, plan happenstance, these things opened, and I went after the opportunity because I knew it would align with my values and my interests. So while I was at UC Davis, there was an opportunity for me to counsel at American River College, and I did a little bit of counseling, but then I really wanted to focus on teaching because that's what I really love. And so I ended up being able to teach, and I've been doing it, I think it might be, my 6th time teaching this class, maybe 5th. And so I love doing it. I could only do one a semester, but it was an opportunity for me to, be in my own classroom and connect with community college students because I really miss them after going to UC Davis. And finally, also while I was at UC Davis, I got really interested in the field of positive psychology. And positive psychology is the science of happiness. So it's really looking at scientifically what makes people thrive, what makes people feel fulfilled. And I fell in love with that, and I went and got a certificate in applied positive psychology. And I only found out about this because I went up to a speaker. They have these brown bags. That's what they call these lunch presentations. And one of them was about something related to happiness. And I went up to the speaker and I said, how did you get into this? I'd love to hear more. And I was able to learn about this program, and I enrolled in this program. And so now I have a certificate in applied positive psychology. And this is what led me to start my own business. I found that I was really interested in these interventions and approaches to promoting happiness for people. But I also noticed that a lot of people were feeling unhappy partially because of messages they're getting from the media and from our culture. And so I wanted to combine those things and really address these messages, and also include, ways of cultivating happiness. So this is where I am. It's something that I never thought I would be doing. And I found it through this very winding path. So you guys are okay. You don't have to know right now. You'll figure it out. But you have to be open to opportunity, and you have to actually reach out and ask questions and take advantage of openings and opportunities to speak with people or jobs that come up. And you do have to be active in this. Although, some of it's happenstance. It just happens to you. The planned part is all on you. Is understanding yourself and then taking and asking for those opportunities that allow you to get to where you are. So now that you know quite a bit about me, we're going to focus now on college success and a little bit of an overview about what makes a student successful in a college experience. So as I mentioned, this isn't something that you just know how to do. You have to learn how to do college. And I really wish that everybody was required to take this class. I think that it helps lay the foundation for you to be able to overcome a lot of the difficulties of being a college student, because it isn't an easy experience. There is a lot of pressure on you. It's often the first time you're living on your own, or the first time you have to do your own laundry, in addition to taking these more difficult classes in a very different educational setting than you're used to in your high school. So what we're doing is trying to give you the tools to fix that. What I want to talk about right now is to think about what characteristics or behaviors make a successful college student. So what I want you to do for a minute is I want you to pause the video, get out a piece of paper, and I want you to brainstorm characteristics that make a successful college student. So go ahead and pause and just spend a little time brainstorming. So now you have your own list about what makes a successful college student. So take a second to look and see if there's some overlap between your list and my list. And I'm sure you also have things on your list that I don't have that are completely relevant to what makes a successful college student. So some of the characteristics that I think really kind of support your success in a college environment are that you're inquisitive. You like to ask questions. You want to know why things are the way they are. Self-aware. So as I mentioned, self-knowledge is very important in making decisions and taking advantage of opportunities. This is also important in the college experience because you need to know what works for you in terms of studying, in terms of how you approach professors, in terms of majors that you choose, et cetera, et cetera. So we are going to experience quite a few lessons focused on helping you build your self-awareness. But, really kind of being intuitive and introspective about why you do things the way you are, or the things that you need in order to be able to function at your best is going to be important for you to do. Also, it is important that you're able to organize. You have a lot of priorities, a lot of different classes and activities competing for your time and for your attention. So being able to organize is very important to being able to be a successful college student. Responsibility, being able to take control and responsibility for your work and your actions and communications is really important as well. You don't have as many people to lean on as you did when you're in high school. It just is important that you are really in charge of your life. Joyful. I put that there because I think learning is an opportunity for you to experience joy. There's a lot of growth opportunity and spots where you can get involved both through your academics and through campus activities. So really having joy and finding the joy in learning. And this kind of relates to a willingness to participate and take risks. You're going to be exposed to things that you've never been exposed to before. People from many different backgrounds, activities that you've never really thought of getting involved in, classes that you have no experience in. There are subject areas that aren't taught in high school, or aren't taught in any of the sort of primary education that you've had. So being willing to put yourself out there is really important because this is a space for growth. So when I say well, I mean taking care of yourself physically and mentally. So it's very, very difficult to do well in your academics if you are sick, or you are tired, or you're experiencing depression, or you haven't eaten today. So just really spending the time and putting the energy in to making sure that you are healthy, so that you can succeed in these higher level tasks like taking classes, taking exams, and writing papers. It's important also that you're self-directed. So nobody is going to remind you constantly that things are due. You got a lot of reminders probably in high school, and I would guess that many of your parents probably prodded you a bit to get things done. That's not going to happen in college. You have to find a way to make yourself motivated, to make yourself get things done. And it's just crucial because unfortunately there's nobody going to be doing that for you. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Part of college is learning critical thinking skills. And critical thinking skills is looking at things that may be, closely held beliefs for you and taking a different perspective on them. You also will be around people who have different perspectives. Professors might teach you something that goes against your assumptions. So being willing to sit with that discomfort and maybe look at these different ideas and hold them and determine what you think about them in a non-judgmental way is going to be really important to your growth as a student and as an individual. Being caring is also important both for yourself and for others. Part of college is the social interactions that you're going to have. You will likely make new friends, and being caring for them as well as your own self is going to be part of your experience. You also need to be brave, courageous, and this kind of relates to willingness to take risks. but there's no such thing as courage without fear. So there's gonna be fear. You're gonna be experiencing things that are a little bit scary to you, maybe, and new. So being courageous in the face of that is going to be important. And finally, hungry for knowledge. I mean, this is related to the inquisitive piece, but being excited about learning. You are spending 4 years just focused on learning, and so that's what college is all about. So this class is all about decreasing the unknown. I can't, unfortunately, tell you exactly what you're going to experience in all your classes, but I can tell you generally what the college experience is going to be like. I can tell you what the resources are to help you be supported during that experience. I can tell you how to take notes. I can tell you how to read for college. So all of these things that if you weren't taking this class, you would just have to figure out on your own. I'm going to give you some tools and resources in order for you to have some support in being successful in the college experience. It is going to be different. The environment is different. The expectations are different. So, hopefully this will give you a bit of a soft landing so that when these very different things happen, you already know and you're expecting them. You also will be given a lot of resources and information about how to learn about yourself. And many of us really haven't spent a whole lot of time exploring ourselves, our interests, our values. And those are all really important in making the big decisions that you have to make while you're a college student. Things like, what am I going to major in? What activities am I going to participate in? What kind of friends am I going to hang out with? And then finally, what careers am I going to pursue? So this is a big part of being a college student, is getting to know who you are. Also, I think part of the role of this class is to help you build self-confidence. Knowledge really is power. If you kind of know what to expect, you're going to feel better about yourself and you're going to feel more confident in moving forward. And also having this self-knowledge can really foster direction. So like I said, if you know something about yourself, it can help you make choices about what to be involved in and what to study. And self-efficacy, which is the belief that you can succeed, the belief that you are able to do things, promotes success. There's many studies about, belief that you can succeed is very, very important to success, because if you don't trust yourself to succeed, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy where you won't try things, or you won't, persist when you meet an obstacle, and therefore you don't succeed because you've given up. And this relates to something called growth mindset, which is something I'm really interested in, and I hope to teach you guys. But growth mindset is the idea that when you come up against an obstacle or you come up against something difficult, it's not because you are inherently bad at it. It's because you're learning something new. It's the idea that, things aren't completely inborn or genetic, right? It's like intelligence, for example. Somebody with a growth mindset believes that intelligence can be grown. It's something that can be increased through hard work and study. And that when you come up against a challenge or someone criticizes you, you see it as an opportunity to learn and grow and increase your skills, instead of seeing it as proof that you are not worthy or proof that you do not have the ability. Somebody with the fixed mindset, which is the opposite of growth mindset, believes that talents and intelligence and abilities are something that people are just born with, so that if they have trouble with a certain task or a certain topic, they just believe, well, that's just something I'm not good at, and then they give up. So again, that self-fulfilling prophecy happens where you don't really get the opportunity to learn something or get better at something because you gave up. So I'm hoping that all of you will start to foster a growth mindset and look at things that are a challenge as an opportunity to get better, to grow, and then eventually you will succeed. So I mentioned these earlier when I was talking about course structure, but one of the regular assignments in this class is journaling. So the idea behind this assignment is that you'll actually get some time to reflect on your experience of the topics that we've covered in class. So you will be provided a prompt, so a question or several questions to respond to. But the idea is that you apply what we've learned about to your own personal experience. And these are really important for you to really explore. And they are confidential. I will know who's writing it and I will see it, but none of your peers will see it. And I will not share anything I see in the journals with anyone else at all. So feel free to be open and honest with things in the journal. I don't know if any of you actually keep a real journal, but you might write in shorthand or little short sentences. This does need to be college level writing, and you do need to adhere to the requirements put forward in the prompt. So some will say, I'd like you to write a paragraph, or I'd like you to write, 4 sentences per question. And these need to be full, exploratory sentences, not little short ones. Sometimes people do that, and then, yeah, that doesn't work. I'm still going to ding you on that if it's really short, truncated sentences. But, do use it as an opportunity to explore your own reactions to the things that we're learning and how you might apply those to your life. And it allows both myself and you to see your growth from the beginning of the semester to the end. So I think they're kind of a powerful assignment, and that's one of your first assignments, is to complete a journal entry. So that's it for our course introduction. Just a few items for you. If you do have questions, I would suggest the first thing you do is ask it in the discussion section under Canvas. If you click on the left-hand side where it says discussions, you're going to see one titled Q&A course-related questions. And this is an opportunity for you to put questions out there. Both myself and other students will be in here, and you can answer other students' questions. But I really like the discussion versus emailing me directly, because a lot of students have the same questions, and I can answer that question in one place. And if you go in, you can check that first if you have a question and see if it was already answered before you email me individually. You can also connect with your peers directly through the student lounge, or again through this, or you can email them. And so I would go to your peers as well before you email me directly. So try all these things first. Oh, and, of course, look at the syllabus first, and at Canvas, because there's a lot of information in Canvas as well. And as a last resort, go ahead and email me if you have a question, particularly if you need an urgent answer. So just a few to-do items for you. The first thing is read the syllabus. So I want you to go over it very carefully and really familiarize yourself with the structure of the class. Then I want you to familiarize yourself with Canvas. Go ahead and click into all the modules. Click on the assignments and the videos and the handouts, so you can kind of see what's coming and get really used to it. Also, if you choose, you can move forward with this class ahead of where we are. There are some things that you may want to kind of wait on. Obviously, you have to wait on the midterm and the final, but you can get a little bit ahead. I would really discourage you from going way ahead. It's best if you follow the structure that I've put into the syllabus. Generally about 2 modules a week is what I'm recommending. And of course you need to stay up with the due dates, as I mentioned before. But I want you to know what to expect in Canvas. And there are some things where, I will do a page, that's what they're called in Canvas, but basically it'll be an overview of what we're going to talk about. And then I will have the instructions, or I'll have the lecture. So, again, if I'm getting questions about these things, I'm going to say, hey, that's already in Canvas. So it's good for you to take a proactive approach now and get used to what's already in there, and prepare yourself for what to expect with the class as it comes. So what you'll do next, you've just completed, hopefully, module 1A, and you'll see there's an assignment and some other resources there. The next thing you'll do is module 1B, so that's kind of how you're going to work through these modules. The next thing I would suggest you do is to put all your assignments and the due dates into your calendar or your planner, whatever you use to manage your time and your assignments, so that you're planning ahead. Again, we will talk a lot more about time management and some more strategies to do this, but it's good to get started now so that you don't fall behind in the class. Because although the assignments are fairly straightforward, there are a lot of them. To do well in this class, you mostly just have to do the work, but if you get behind, it can be hard to catch up. So stay on top of it. I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys again for module 1B, and good luck, and let me know if there are any questions.